Atomsound sounding round and round. If you don't hear it, the rocks will resound.
Hey, welcome to another Atomsound.tv video podcast, where today we're going to talk about Atomsound. It's been a while since I posted, and there's lots of reasons for that, but suffice it to say that I think it's time for the world to awaken to the reality that atoms are sound. I've been really digging thunderbolts.info, which is all about the electromagnetic nature of the cosmology of our solar system and the entire universe. It's very interesting stuff. Go check it out. It's a bunch of bona fide scientists who are currently being rejected by the rest of the scientific community because of their unique viewpoints. What I really like about it is that they go into the archaeological record and they prove that our solar system was birthed from the sun. Now, as Christians who believe differently about how our particular solar system came about, you might have a little trouble, but I assure you, I've thought about it, and it looks like it lines up to me. What's really interesting is that electromagnetic plasma is the creation stuff of what I believe is the Father through the Son by the Holy Spirit. It's pretty amazing stuff. And, in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. And it says, I think in Proverbs, that I was at his right hand as a master workman, Proverbs 8. And so we have the scenario of everything seen and unseen, I think that's out of Colossians or Hebrews, was created by the Son, by Yeshua, the pre-existent, pre-incarnate. And that's one thing that totally blows my mind. How could a man, a perfect man, it says Jesus is very God and very man. That's one of the major statements of the church in the 4th century, I think. And I totally agree. He's very God and he's very man. And yet he is like no other man. In Revelations it says there was no man found who could open the seals, the 7 seals of the scroll of this end time scenario that we are finding ourselves in right now. And yet someone was found, and it was a man, but he was the prototypical man. He was the man who's not a man. God is not a man that he should lie. Well, that's because Yeshua, Jesus, the Mashiach, was a pre-incarnate man. And I don't understand that totally, but the fact is that God the Father and God the Son, for eternity past, existed and yearned for your creation, for my creation, for our incarnation, where we would finally be made known. It says in Psalm 139 that before you were in your mother's womb, God had you in his heart. And so for all intents and purposes, I believe, God the Father saw us before we were formed in our mother's womb. And he knew us before we were formed in our mother's womb. In the same way, no, not the same way, in a different way, something totally other than, something holy, something righteous and beyond our comprehension at this point in human history. The Father and the Son were one. Jesus prayed, Jesus prayed in John 17. He said, Father, I wish that they were one as we are one. And Yeshua constantly said, I'm one with the Father. I and the Father are one. If you've seen me, you've seen the Father. He totally not just identified himself with the Father, but put himself in the place with the Father. So Atomsound is the sound of let there be light. Atomsound is the quintessence. It's the cosmic disturbance, the universal disturbance that created galaxies and stars with their red beam and blue light shift in place. He put everything in place at one point. And then I believe after he created our sun and our earth, he also birthed the planets in our solar system after the fact. That's the thunderbolts.info will bear that out. You just take a look at that website and you'll see this fantastic, amazing scientific unveiling of our cosmology. Something so refreshing and different for those with open minds that it'll blow your mind. It'll be fascinating and comforting at the same time. And so Atomsound to me is just that idea that, you know, the particles that we see as particles are not really particles. They're points on an intersecting wave. It's all wave technology, this matter stuff that we're made out of. Somebody calls them perturbations in the electromagnetic field. You know, that's what we are. We're a manifestation of intentional perturbations in the electromagnetic field. And so the nature of atoms is not spinning particles, it's wavy waves around a nucleus. And so it's just a fascinating thing. I have to admit ignorance. I am not the guy that you want to come to for these answers. I'm just putting forth the questions. I'm an armchair physicist. I have no degrees and no real knowledge, just observations and inclinations towards what I believe is the truth. And my world's been rocked, and it's being rocked every day by not just the cosmology of our solar system, but by humans and how humans interact, and how we as humans have massive electromagnetic interactions. And there are perturbations of the intersecting fields of human to human that are just, they're wild and wonderful, and it's amazing, and I love it. And so I just want to encourage you to open your mind, not so far that your brains fall out, but do not accept the dogma of today's science. It is absolutely infiltrated by closed-minded Pharisees who don't want you to know the truth. And because they don't know it themselves, and they're limiting us as humans from transcending and finding the true meaning and the true ramifications of the science that we are currently swimming in. It's an amazing sound. It's the Atomsound. All right, like, subscribe, and ding the bell.